What's up guys, this is Ray and today we'll be talking about the 2013 Japanese movie A Story of Yonosuke, directed by Okita Shuichi and starring Kora Kengo. And this movie review is actually brought to you by one of my Patreons over at Patreon, Q10, who had requested this movie for me to review for you guys today. And he actually had requested it last month, but I've actually been very busy with a lot of things in my personal life. So I'm just getting around to fulfilling all these requests from Patreon. So I hope you guys forgive me. But yeah, I'm ready to start talking about movies again. But if you guys are new to Eiga-Man Ray, I upload reviews and discussions of Japanese movies every chance I get. So if you guys are new to my channel, you really dig my content, it would help if you guys subscribe and of course watch any of the other videos that are featured on this channel. So back to the review. A Story of Yonosuke. It takes place primarily during the 80s. So it has this kind of nostalgia trip for those guys who were, I guess, around in Japan during the 80s. I'm not sure how much nostalgia a person who hadn't lived in Japan during the 80s would feel, but there's a reason a lot of the story primarily takes place in the 80s, which I won't say because I don't know if it's a spoiler or not, but anyways, the main character played by Kora Kengo, his name is Yonosuke, Yokomichi Yonosuke, as the name of the movie would hint at. That the Japanese name of this movie is actually the character's name, Yokomichi Yonosuke. And he's this university student from countryside Nagasaki. He had moved into Tokyo and he's trying to make friends. He's kind of a weird, quirky, unique kind of fellow, and he's not exactly the best at social interaction. He's just kind of like, he's just extremely friendly, but almost to the point where he's awkward. And this movie is basically about the types of people he's met through his time at university and the way he's changed their lives, the way they changed his life. And this movie features a plethora of big names in its supporting cast. I mean, you have Yoshitaka Yuriko, you have Ikimatsu Sosuke, Ayono Go is even in here, Kunimura Jun, Ito Ayumi, Yo Kimiko, and even Muro Tsuyoshi. There's a lot of faces that pop in and out of the story. So it's kind of hard to describe the plot of the story, but basically, yeah, it's about Yonosuke and his different interactions with different people in his life and just how they affect each other. And it's a coming of age story. And I think when I first watched this movie all the way through, it kind of reminded me of Forrest Gump. You know how Forrest Gump, he kind of goes through life. There are a lot of supporting characters that pop in and out of his story, but for the most part, it centers on him and just the way his interactions played out. Granted, Yonosuke doesn't travel nearly as much as Forrest Gump. He doesn't do as many great things, nothing compared to Forrest Gump, but just kind of like the overall vibe and just the overall flow of the story kind of reminded me of that. But I know I'm not giving this story enough justice by just saying that it's about this uni student and his interactions with other people. There's a lot to the story, and there's a lot of mini episodes to the story. But I think, when it comes to the positives of A Story of Yonosuke, it's still just the character of Yonosuke. He's just such a fun character, a very lovable youth. I think from the get-go, he's kind of awkward, but he has a good heart. And just the way he has almost no kind of, any kind of borders when it comes to when he meets friends for the first time. He'll just stop talking without any kind of hesitation. And he quickly makes friends this way. Granted, these friends, when they first meet him, they don't know how to really deal with him for the most part, but they just kind of go along because he's just a nice dude. And not just Yonosuke himself, but all the characters that he meets are all very different, very unique, and also very memorable. I think my favorite supporting character has got to be Yoshitaka Yuriko's character, who plays Yonosuke's love interest. And she is absolutely adorable. She plays kind of this ojo-san, or this lady of a house. She's like a daughter of a wealthy family, so her way of talking, her mannerisms, everything about her has this kind of like this rich daughter kind of trope to it. But I think because it's Yoshitaka Yuriko performing it, it really delivers, and I think it's very easy to like this character. But the more I think about it, nothing ever big happens throughout the duration story. Like small mini events happen, but nothing that I would consider like big story altering events. It's just kind of, you just follow Yonosuke in his life and as he interacts with different characters. And it might sound kind of boring the way I describe it, but the way the story plays out is it's just enjoyable. Like, trust me, it's because everything's very whimsical, everything is very lighthearted. I don't think the movie really dives into any kind of dramatic territory. It does a little bit. I don't want to get into that, but I think 90% of the movie is lighthearted and whimsical and fun. But when it comes to the negatives of A Story of Yonosuke, I gotta say, the movie kind of is anticlimactic in a way. Like I said, there's no big events that happen in the story. If anything, there are some big events that happen off screen, that happen, without being really performed in the story. And I think I don't know, this movie maybe would have benefited from showing some of these events, but at the same time, it does have its own kind of impact by just being spoken of, just because you see how a lot of the supporting characters interact to what happened. But I think because nothing big happens on screen, I would count that as probably its biggest negative. Another thing, this movie is pretty long. I want to say this movie clocks in at about 2 hours and 40 minutes. I want to say that the movie would benefit for a shorter time frame, for shorter run time. But at the same time, there's so many characters that Yonosuke meets. It almost seems fitting to have this long runtime. But at the same time, there is a lot of dead space in the story. A lot of times where the characters aren't doing anything. But that's, at the same time, that's kind of a charming point of the story. You don't want to go back into the positives, is that there are a lot of takes that are just long one-cut takes where it looks like the characters were just told just to interact as if they were their character, and the camera just keeps rolling, and they just ad-lib a lot of the story. I don't know how much of that is accurate, but it does feel like a lot of the scenes were ad-libbed to the best of the characters, the actors' abilities. And these scenes are absolutely fun. You know, I could watch these characters interact and just talk on and on, just because they're so good at keeping as their character. I think for me, I don't know, maybe that's why I was able to forgive the long runtime, just because I really enjoyed the scenes when they just go and just talk away. But overall, what do I have to say about A Story of Yonosuke? I definitely recommend to watch, but just prepare you to devote a lot of time if you plan to watch this in one sitting. I actually had to watch this in 2 sittings on Netflix. It definitely requires just a lot of time to sit through it. But yeah, if you can sit through the entirety of this movie, I promise you like all the characters and their interactions, and I think it'll definitely make this viewing experience worthwhile. Anyways, yes, those are my thoughts on A Story of Yonosuke. What did you guys think? Please let me know in the comment section below. Don't forget to leave a like, share, and subscribe, and follow me on all the social media channels. And thank you once again to Q10 over at Patreon for requesting this movie for me to review for you guys today. And yeah, that's about it for me, guys. And as always, everyone, thank you so much for watching, and hope to catch y'all again in the next video. Take it easy.